So One Piece chapter 1070 is out, and we are here to talk about it, break it down, and do what we usually do when we make one of these videos. As you can see, I am noticeably rocking a fro today. You may be asking why. Well, because Luffy does some crazy stuff with his hair in this chapter, and this is the only way I could think of to actually reference that. But before we get into it, y'all know what to do. Go ahead and give me a subscribe, click that button down below there, and give a like to the video. It really helps out the channel. Appreciate you for doing all that. This Germa cover story is basically turned into a mad scientist flashback at this point. In this one, we get to see what the mad scientists looked like back then. Like, we get to see a younger Vegapunk, younger Queen, younger Caesar, younger Judge. We actually get a face reveal for Judge without the mask in this chapter, in this cover story. And I really want to ask the question, is this Judge's first time like having the mask off and we're just seeing it? I could be ignorant to this, but I just want to know. So let me know. And also, there is another character here that looks a lot like Stussy, like what we've been saying a lot lately, that she probably has a connection to Vegapunk, and this is probably it. Continuing on to the chapter, it's basically continuing off with Luffy versus Lucci, and Luffy has punished Lucci through this whole chapter. Like, it's sad, really, and it's very funny to see, honestly. Luffy's basically apologizing to Sentomaru for getting the last chapter he got the handgun to the back, and that was basically because Luffy was distracting him. But Sentomaru lets him know that no, it wasn't your fault, it was mine. I seen the attack coming, I just couldn't stop it in time. I guess we can power scale Sentomaru now. Like, okay, he's not as strong as Lucci, but we can obviously power scale this whole thing that's going on right now. Sentomaru's not as strong as Lucci, and Lucci is definitely not as strong as Luffy. The whole time, Lucci's trying to put Sentomaru to sleep and fight Luffy at the same time. It's very insane of him to do, honestly, because I don't see how he thinks that's a good plan, even though he did accomplish it, because, Luffy was distracted and Sentomaru was distracted for a little bit last chapter. But if you wanted to give a little bit to Lucci in this chapter, he was doing multiple things if you want to. That's not to tone down what Luffy was doing to him in this chapter, though, honestly. We get a new attack for Gear 5th in this chapter. Gum Gumu no Booming Dawn Whip. Now, I've heard a few different translations for this. I guess we'll have to wait for what Viz does with it when the chapter actually releases, and that's really because of how the Japanese kanji is displayed for this chapter, and it's confusing, and I don't really know how to explain it myself. But basically, you can replace Dawn for white in this, and it could be like booming white whip at the same time. And there's another attack in this chapter where Luffy, this attack basically, he just spins around a lot and knocks out Lucci for a little bit, but he sends himself spinning so much that he drills himself into the ground. And this also kind of, I guess, supports an idea that Luffy still doesn't have control of Gear 5th all that much, and that's kind of obvious because he's still doing stuff that he shouldn't be. Like I said before, he's still getting distracted at the beginning of the chapter. Well, not the beginning of the chapter, the end of last chapter. Now remember, the only reason that Lucci's trying to attack Sentomaru is because he's trying to get control of the Seraphims right now, who are basically wrecking all of the CP agents right now. They're showing off their devil fruit powers, and we even get to see that the Hancock Seraphim actually has the power of the Mero no Mi, and it does the little Mero beam stuff, and it's like, wait, hold on. So they actually did get a sample of Hancock's devil fruit, basically. Vegapunk basically explains it. This is because of the green blood that are in the Seraphim. He created this blood, and this is basically connected to paramecia users. Vegapunk knows how to clone devil fruits, remember? So this is how he clones the paramecia users, and this is the most used way he's done this, basically. It's easiest for him to do this with paramecia users because all he has to do is create the green blood from the lineage factor of a paramecia user. So this clears up what was going on with Senior Pink. Senior Pink's not dead. That gives Frankie some relief in this chapter, and honestly, me too. But Vegapunk also explains that he's also able to create Zoan fruits, and he's been able to create fruits, so devil fruits like this. But it's harder for him to create mythological devil fruits. And this is because it takes a lot of money and a lot of time to do this. This is why he was only able to create one of the dragon fruits, Kaido's fruit, and he labeled it a failure because it didn't turn out exactly how he wanted it. It wasn't blue. He also mentions that Logia fruits he hasn't been able to do that. I don't really know if he hasn't been able to do it or if he hasn't been able to just like manufacture it all the way. Because it could be a similar situation with like the mythological fruits. Like he hasn't been able to just get them all the way right. Like he doesn't give any examples in this chapter, and the only examples we have are the paramecia fruits that we see right now being displayed by the Seraphims and the mythological fruit, clone that Momonosuke has. Something else that's confirmed in this chapter, the Seraphims have personalities. Like the Hancock one has its own like little tsundere personality. Even Vegapunk references the Seraphim as the strongest beings or humans in some translations that I've seen. Back to the fight. Lucci is trying his best at this point to be in denial about this, you know, that he can do this. I can fight this guy. But it's not happening, you know, because he's not fighting a force of nature at this point. This is a force of chaos. That's what this is. It's not regular. This is not normal. Two things Luffy does in this chapter. He does the giant thing again. He grows his head so gigantic that he tries to just bite down on Lucci. Now, Lucci does zip away from this because, you know, he's got the speed thing going with this leopard fruit. But Luffy counters this by chewing up parts of the floor. Like, he just does this while he's still giant and then shoots them like bullets at Lucci. And it hits him. So, you know, Lucci tries to counter this, but Luffy zips away from him just as quick and uses, I guess, this like the vacuum rocket tube thing to stretch it out like he's a slingshot, like he's Usopp's slingshot, I guess. And yeah, he takes his hair, turns a piece of it into goggles, pulls it down like he's, you know, like a jet pilot or something like that, and yells out, "Gum Gum Dawn Rocket." No, Booming Dawn Rocket. Once again, Booming White Rocket, Booming Dawn Rocket. We're gonna have to see what it may not even have booming in it. We're gonna have to see what the translation is gonna be like once it hits Viz. Like, I'm not even gonna pretend like I know how to speak Japanese. But dude basically gut checks Lucci.
It's gut check time.
And at this point, this is when Lucci probably realized that he messed up, because it was over with for him at this point. Like, he starts monologuing in his head about how chaotic this power is. Like, why is this happening? And he's fading out, referencing the old fight they had last time on how he lost. Except this time he landed no hits. He landed no damage on this guy. It is beautiful, honestly. Luffy is just a force of pure Toon chaos. Sentomaru basically stays behind at this point, tells Luffy to get out of here, get Grandpa Vegapunk out of here, and, you know, Luffy promises him that he'll, you know, get him off of this island. So as they take off, this is where weird things happen. So if you remember way back when Kaido fought Luffy first transformed to Gear 5th, he had that moment where he reverted back to normal. But when he reverted back to normal, he reverted to this very old man looking face form. Like his tongue was hanging and all that stuff. But the thing about this was that maybe a few minutes or a few seconds later, Luffy was talking a little bit, and then he powered right back up to Gear 5th. Now, I said back then that this was probably the result of a result of using Gear 5th. This is probably his thing, like back with Gear 2nd, when he would use Gear 2nd. I think he would lose a little. Like, it was something. I think he couldn't use his body. No, it wasn't he couldn't use his body. I think it was he was burning up his lifespan using Gear 2nd or something like that. But I know Gear 3rd, he was turning small after doing that. Like turning into a child chibi form. I should have went back and watched all this before I made this video. Now we're in a situation where Luffy has just soloed Lucci, like no difficulty. Solo Lucci like it was nothing, and now he reverted back to the state. Now I said this back then, this is probably just a result of Gear 5th. This is probably what happens when he uses it. He goes into this form. Now, is this a bad thing? Honestly, I don't think so. I think this is just another situation of Luffy is going to have to actually train with this form. Now, I don't know how he's gonna do that. Maybe he has to go on some kind of soul searching journey, a la Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War arc, something that's gonna happen with Ichigo soon, with him finna figure out what's the deal with his powers. Spoilers, but it is similar to something that we have already seen before. Luffy wasn't the first person to do this technically. It was Chopper that was the first one to do this. See, back when Chopper used that new version of the Rumble Ball back in Wano when he was fighting Queen, and it extended the time of the Rumble Ball for I think 30 minutes more or something like that. Chopper actually turned into like a kid old man form for a little bit of time. So and he said that this is just a new result of using this new version of the Rumble Ball. Now, remember last chapter, we were talking about something like this, and we were referencing Chopper when talking about Zoan Awakenings. So this is probably a very key sign that we already knew Chopper had some training to do with his fruit and actually learning what his actual awakening is. And Luffy still has some training to do with his own awakening. But all in all, 10 out of 10 fight, I gotta say. I just appreciate how Luffy just no difficulty just punished Lucci like it was nothing. I appreciate that, and that was a good way to round off 2022. I'll give Lucci this. His pride may be hurt, but he's a businessman. He gets himself together. He knows what his job is at this point. They go ahead and take down Sentomaru and gain control of the Seraphim. And Kizaru pops up at the end of the chapter, and now he's saying that he's not gonna let them just get away too easy, basically. So, he's got some warships coming after him, a lot of them apparently. And end of chapter. And this is supposed to be the last chapter of the year, but there's supposedly supposed to be like some chapter that's supposed to come out next week too, so you never know what's gonna happen. I don't know. But this does leave us at a few different places towards the end of this chapter. For one, Kizaru's probably not gonna do a face turn, but Stussy probably will. I mean, obviously she knew Vegapunk at one point, and that's definitely her in the cover story. Luffy is definitely not to be played with at this point, but he's gonna still probably, he may be OP, but he's still probably gonna have to do a little bit of training with his Devil Fruit. I can imagine Vegapunk telling him and Chopper that once all this is over with, Vegapunk will probably have that conversation with Luffy like, okay boy, listen, Quasar, you're not the user of a Paramecia fruit. You have a Zoan fruit. So then this will probably lead to him telling him like, okay, you and Chopper probably need to do something to, maybe send them on some kind of journey. Like I said, like some kind of spiritual journey to, know what's really going on with their devil fruit. Maybe this will kind of give them full control over it, because I don't think Chopper still has full control over his devil fruit, because I don't think the monster point or his true awakening is supposed to look like what it looks like right now. Also, I want to give mention to this. Queen's design was actually pretty cool at the beginning of the chapter. He kind of looks like the old man Hyo. I think that was his name, from Wano, the old guy with the fiery hair and stuff. Like, it was a lot of that going on in this chapter. I feel like, you got the fiery hair of the, of Gear 5th, and then you got Queen's fire hair. Okay, maybe it wasn't that much fire hair going on, but still, there's a lot of hair stuff going on today. My hair stuff, Luffy's hair stuff, Queen's hair stuff, all types of hair stuff. But all in all, this was a really good chapter. I feel like it does set up a lot for going later, like especially with the green blood stuff, because that's sus. Like, okay, one, when did he get that the lineage factor from Hancock? Because we know Hancock was a slave at one point before Fisher Tiger, rescued her and her sisters, and I don't know, like, slave for the world government. The world government is, the Celestial Dragons, where they owned her, but they gave her the devil fruit just for, giggles, basically. So when did Vegapunk do this? That is the real question to ask. Like, did he do this when she went to Impel Down? Does he have like a little, like on some Dragon Ball Z Android 20, Dr. Garo, Little B that was going around collecting DNA for Cell and all that stuff. Like, y'all know what I'm talking about. That's gonna do it for me. I enjoyed this chapter. Like I said, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Appreciate everybody that has been here to the end of the year. Like, next time you'll probably see a video from me. I'm gonna try my best to get this Christmas video out. Got a little something planned, but if I don't, it'll be out after Christmas. But sorry if that happens. But we'll definitely be back here for the next chapter, which may be next week. So, stay tuned for then. See y'all later. Merry Christmas and have a happy holidays.